Hey guys, it's JJ. Welcome back to the Eagles franchise. It's draft time. Second draft of the series, and after a not so busy offseason, the Eagles are hoping to boost their roster even further, maybe get a receiver, a defensive tackle, a linebacker. But first up, with the first overall pick, the New Orleans Saints select quarterback Norman Thomas out of Mississippi State. This was no surprise. He was the consensus top pick in this draft class, and he goes here at number 1 to the Saints, who were quarterbacked by Ian Book last season, and that did not go well. They only won 4 games. The Atlanta Falcons select Levi Bigsby, cornerback, Texas Tech. And that is a surprise to me because I thought they were going to go quarterback 2, but apparently they want the top corner of this class. But the Colts also do. Javon Baldwin, cornerback, Penn State. They select him at number 3 overall. So top 2 cornerbacks already gone. And now the other top quarterback goes to the New York Giants. Joe Frazier out of LSU. We're going to play him twice a year for, at least his rookie contract probably. Because, he's going to be good. At number 5 overall, the Texans take a tackle, Deontay Higgins. And, he looked like the consensus top tackle in this class. Although, I think that there is a better option. And, we'll see about that. Pat Brown, right end, goes to the Detroit Lions. And then the first receiver off the board, Brian Merriweather, to the Raiders. The Raiders signed J.J. Arcega-Whiteside in the offseason, and they drafted Tremaine Ellis last year. So they have now 3 top receivers, and they still have Hunter Renfrow, as Emmanuel Kramer goes to the Cardinals here. And then the Vikings also take a receiver, and now the Packers are stuck with no receivers left on the board. And who are they going to take? Joel Johnson, a middle linebacker, the top middle linebacker prospect. And I was kind of considering trading up for him, but he didn't look stellar enough to sacrifice a future first for him. And then the Panthers go Corey Milstead, the top defensive tackle in this class. That is a slam dunk pick in my opinion. And then at 12, the Washington football team selects Bobby Armstead out of North Carolina. He goes to Washington. He's a really good edge rusher. And then the Bengals select a tackle, Desmond McKinney, an edge rusher to the Broncos, Jermaine Crowder. Those all look like solid picks. Edward Robertson, another edge rusher to the Jets. And at 16, the Browns take Reggie Nash, another receiver. So there's 4 gone already. Another edge rusher. I think there's 5 or 6 gone at this point. And then the Bills at 18. Who are they going to select? It's going to be Cesar Garcia. I was kind of thinking about picking him because he looked really good. But I didn't want to trade up for him, so yeah. And in fact, right now I didn't want to trade up for anybody anymore because it just didn't seem worth the picks I'd have to spend to trade up for anybody I could get. Jojo Saunders, another linebacker. He didn't look stellar or anything, so would have maybe considered him at 23, but not trading up for him. And then a tackle goes to the Bears. They're finally improving their offensive line. And then the Steelers go cornerback, and the Eagles are on the board. At 23 overall, I had a few options. I thought about it, but then I looked at the offers, and I think that is a good deal from Miami here, falling down 4 spots and picking up a 3 and a future 7. So I accept that deal. I hope we can get our targets later. And there is going to be 4 more picks made in front of us as the Dolphins, who now traded up. Who are they going to select here? They take Christian Pitts. He was mocked to us in the last mock draft. I think he's a really good tight end, but we don't need a tight end. That's the problem. And then the Bucks, Franklin Lewis, cornerback, Florida. And the Seahawks go with a running back in the first round. No surprise here. And the Chiefs also take a running back in the first round, Taylor McCutcheon. And there we are again. And this time, I decided I'm going to make a selection. And the options were Doug Washington, 5'10", 176. He's 22 years old, out of Ole Miss. He has the fastest 40-yard dash. He has great acceleration, great speed, and elite change of direction. I really like his athletic upside. He has B injury, he has B juke move, B medium route running, B spec catch. There's a lot of ratings I like a lot. And then Thomas Simpson is another receiver, 6'3", a different build, but third fastest receiver, 4'3", 840. And great speed, great acceleration. He also looks really solid. I don't know as much about him, but still B medium route running, B release. I think that's good enough. And I made my decision. It's going to be Doug Washington, and it's a size thing because I think we need a slot receiver right now, and Doug Washington fits that profile a lot more. Also, we have a lot better insight at his ratings, and he's a hidden dev receiver, and he's going to be our future slot receiver, our deep threat as well. 95 speed, 95 change of direction, 92 acceleration, 91 agility. He looks stellar. Good pick. I love it. And then our next pick was about a round of other teams drafting, and then in the late second round we had another pick there. And I already knew I was gonna go trade up. And I was waiting because I wanted to select Travis Maynard, a tackle that looked so good. Really want to get him. And my goal was to wait until a few of those tackles go. Here is one of them, Johnny McDonald. There were a lot of tackles who were falling out of the first round. And I was going to wait until some of those were going to go and then trade up. And the Saints, Norman Thomas and then a running back, they are doing the Jaguars thing. While the Falcons take an edge rusher, still don't select their quarterback as, the Colts take a linebacker, a speed rusher out of Texas A&M. And then Thomas Simpson, the other receiver I was considering, he goes to New York, so we're going to play him twice a year. And then the Texans, Juan Peel, remember his name, strong safety out of Wisconsin. I'm going to talk about him later. And then Cam Weatherspoon, a guard to the Lions. And now I was getting kind of antsy because offensive linemen started to go. Aaron Dickerson here to the Raiders. And then a defensive tackle, he fell out of the first round as well. I was kind of surprised because I thought he was a good enough prospect. And then another tackle to the Vikings. And Travis Maynard was projected to go second to third round. So I could afford to wait a little bit on him, but didn't want to wait too long as Casey Lowry, in my opinion, top defensive tackle, goes to the Packers after they selected a middle linebacker in the first round, and then a really good cornerback to the Panthers. And the Washington football team takes an injury-prone receiver, and then I was done waiting. I wanted to trade up here. Bengals top need, right tackle, no messing around here. So 10 spots for a third round pick. This year we had 4 third round picks at that point. And so I was ready to sacrifice one of those third round picks and trade up and get our guy, Travis Maynard, 6'6", 312, 22 years old out of San Diego State. He has elite athleticism, elite excel, elite agility, elite everything, and great strength. He looks like a slam dunk tackle, and I know that Lane Johnson has got to retire at some point, and I select him hidden dev. 90 strength, 77 speed, 85 acceleration for a tackle. He looks so good. We'll check his ratings out later, but hidden dev for now for an offensive lineman. So happy about it. And then a few picks later, Derek Brooks, a center I really liked, goes to the Ravens. And he's pretty solid as well. And then pick 65, beginning of the third round. I didn't want to wait around anymore because there was a quarterback I wanted to select as the Saints. They already selected one, but I didn't want to mess around anymore because Christian Landry is the top quarterback on the board. He has been since pick 4. And I was ready to sacrifice the pick, trade up and get him, because even if I don't make him our franchise quarterback, he still is a great trade piece. Great 40-yard dash, great athleticism all around, and look at the ratings. I scouted him 100%. He's a round 1 talent, B short accuracy, B medium accuracy, A deep accuracy. He has a lot of A ratings for like his rushing upside, and he also has hidden dev. Plus, more throw power than I expected. 88 throw power is more than fine. I expected more like 85 with his athletic profile saying solid throw power, but looked really good. And then 16 picks later, we are on the clock again. This is another one of our third round picks we got in trades, and then Tyler Stokes was one of the options on the board. We needed a linebacker, and he has a good enough 40-yard dash, I'd say. He has decent speed, which is not great, but yeah, we don't know much about him. But I'm just drafting for I'm drafting to get a linebacker, and he has been falling a little bit. Danny Austin was another linebacker I really liked, but his key ratings weren't as great. On the contrary, he has great speed, so he's the superior athlete to Tyler Stokes, but he's an outside linebacker, which means that his coverage is probably terrible. And so I was kind of, not sure. And then the top free safety on the board still there, Andrew Johnson, 5'11", 219. We could make him a linebacker, 4.49 speed, and at 219 he's not like too light for a linebacker, but yeah, he didn't really like convince me or anything to be drafted. I didn't know any of his ratings, and so I went with the middle linebacker because I thought that he might have the best coverage compared to Danny Austin, and he might be the better run stopper compared to Andrew Johnson. And yeah, he is normal dev, so he's nothing special here. 6'1", 249. I think his speed is just, it's a little below average. But there is the second San Diego State player we drafted, and then one pick between this one and our next one, and the Bills draft a great guard. And yeah, the next options, I thought that Manuel Matias was a great option. He has great athleticism. His speed is not the greatest, but he looked really good. And for skills, some ratings were a little useless, but overall he looked really solid. And then Easton Young, I think he's the better athlete compared to Manuel Matias, and I think he has the more solid base. You already know he's going to be a good run blocker, and for now he's 21 years old as well, so he's got that for him going for him, and that is why I took him. Hidden dev. 86 strength is not great, but 86 acceleration on the other hand, he's gonna be great in space. 72 speed is not too shabby either, so pretty happy with that pick. And now it was 2 rounds of waiting around for our next selection, and there were a lot of players I was considering in the 5th round, and one of them was Rowland, an edge rusher, 300 pounds. He was gonna be a defensive tackle, and he goes here at the end of the 4th round. A cornerback, James Woods, he goes at the end of the 4th round. A lot of players where I expected them to be like 7th round picks or 6th round picks. And another one of those was Brandon Avant, and the Saints were faster. And yeah, so I was waiting on our next selection, and I was gonna draft Andrew Howell, and he just went to the Bills because Doug Washington, he would be a great running back, and so because of that, I wanted to maybe draft another receiver just to make sure that we got enough receivers. And then that was my last favorite receiver on the board. And so a lot of players were gone by the time I got to my selection here. And Harvey McNeil was like, yeah, basically the last one I really liked. But I don't know anything about him. I don't know his block shedding, his finesse or power moves. And I mean, he's got a injury, so that's good enough for me. But he doesn't look like, yeah, anything special. And he has normal devs, so I guess it's fine. He looks like his athletic profile looks like a speed rusher at defensive tackle, but yeah. And then we had the next pick there, and I just traded out of it because I thought, yeah, all my favorite options were gone, so who should I draft? So I just traded out, get a 4th round for next year. And then at the end, in the 7th round, I took my pick between 4 different cornerbacks, and I thought that Jalen Gilmore had the best upside as a player. We don't know anything about his coverages or press or catching. And TSB injury, I think that's good enough for me. And he has 93 speed. He's 5'11". He can play inside and outside. He has good agility. Does not have great jumping, so he may not do as well against bigger bodied receivers. But that's the end of the draft. I think it went fine. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, I appreciate it if you like and subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. And then we're gonna look at the players, dog. Washington, 75 overall, hidden dev. He's a deep threat, and his ratings look so good. 81 catching without the boost, 79 catch and traffic, 84 spec catch, 85 juke move. You kidding me? 78 spin move. He would be a great running back. And then he also has great route runnings. He's a top receiver. And then Travis Maynard, 71 overall. That's lower than I expected, honestly. And he has a pretty big weakness at pass block. That is pretty horrible. But other than that, he is a solid piece. And yeah, next pick was Christian Landry, hidden dev, 75 overall. And yeah, by the way, I changed his appearance. He is going to have a different face than shown here, but yeah, wow, just wow. Look at this running back skill set as well, but also all the throwing ratings in the 80s to start out with as a rookie. Yeah. Tyler Stokes, 65 overall. Yeah. His zone coverage was lower than I expected. I hoped for something in the 60s, but yeah, he's going to be a run stopper purely in the beginning of his career. And then Easton Young, 70 overall for a center here. He looks solid. He's got no major weaknesses, so pretty happy with that. And he's already a good pass protector and a fine run blocker as well, so yeah. And Harvey McNeil, 68 overall in the 5th round out of San Diego State. He looks solid. Except his power moves are pretty horrible. But yeah, his block shedding and his finesse moves need some work as well. I think he's a future starter in a couple of years. And then Jalen Gilmore. Yeah, well, it's just an upside pick. 93 speed, 66 press. I think that's good enough. He has some good catching rating. And then zone coverage. Gotta work on it for a couple of years. But yeah, we're gonna look at just the general around the league top players, and the number 1 overall pick is a slam dunk one. 89 throw power and great accuracies across the board. Levi Bigsby, the number 2 overall player, has hidden dev, 80 zone coverage, 92 speed, 72 press, and yeah, he looks like a shutdown corner, just like Javon Baldwin, selected by the Colts at 3 overall. Even better coverage ratings, but press is a little low, so you don't want to be running any press heavy schemes with him on the roster. Then at 4 overall, Joe Frazier, normal dev, but his accuracy ratings look really good too. 81 short, 82 medium, and 84 deep. He looks like a deep ball guy, and yeah, we're gonna play him twice a year. Joel Johnson, 21 years old. They got a good middle linebacker. The Packers here. I liked him, but I didn't want to sacrifice the future first for a linebacker. And then at 18, Cesar Garcia, 6'3", 222. Fine speed, but look at the catching ratings. Dude, he has only one weakness in his whole skill set, and it's deep route running. And who cares if he has 87 spec catch and stuff like that. And he also can break tackles. He's like a monster. And JoJo Saunders, kind of a bust, actually. So I'm glad I didn't trade up, because his zone coverage is not great and his block shedding isn't great either. So he got no upside right now, but he has at least like good athleticism. And then Christian Pitts, the player we were mocked to draft, and yeah, look at this, 87 speed, 82 catching. His run blocking needs some work, but he's a vertical threat at tight end. And then the best player in the draft, the Colts, after picking Javon Baldwin at 3 overall, they picked the best player in the draft in the second round, an absolute freak of an athlete at speed rusher. And then Thomas Simpson was drafted by the Giants, so they have a nice dynamic QB wide receiver duo here. 93 speed, great catching ratings, even the route runnings are really good. And then Juan Peel, I told you to remember his name. He was a safety when he was drafted, but he has also the skill to be a really good linebacker. And that's what I missed out on at linebacker. I missed out at linebacker, and I should have taken a deeper look at the strong safeties here, because there was a couple more that looked really solid as safeties, but as well as linebackers with great speed and better zone coverage. And the Packers get Casey Lowry, really good defensive tackle. And then the Panthers, they selected a defensive tackle in the first round and get Josh Bailey here. Great man coverage, probably not the right corner I want to put in my system, but he looks really good. And then Derek Brooks, yeah, slam dunk. He was drafted as a center, but he's the right tackle here for the Baltimore Ravens. They also selected a great speed rusher in the first round. And then one of the best players of the draft, and I missed out again. Another safety you could have converted to linebacker, and he wouldn't have missed a beat. He has great speed, and yeah, but the Raiders already have a good linebacking core, so he stays at safety there. And then the Bengals get the backup tackle I would have drafted if Travis Maynard was gone by the time I wanted to trade up. And then Austin Copeland here, he looks really solid. The Bears select a center, Manuel Matias. Yeah, in retrospect, I think he's a little better as a prospect than Easton Young, which I selected 2 spots earlier, but honestly, it's pretty even. And then the Packers in the third round, they take Duke Price and get another linebacker, and he looks really good as well. And then in the fourth round, the 49ers picked Rowland. And yeah, he would have been a bust because his strength does not hold up at defensive tackle, I'd say, for a starter anyway. And then Brandon Avant, would have loved to draft him. He looks so good, 92 speed. For a fourth round pick, 69 zone and 69 man, he looks so solid. And Andrew Howell, if I could have gotten those two in the fifth round, I would have been so happy, because Howell has solid speed, great catching ratings, and I mean his route runnings need a little work, but it's the fifth round, man. If I could have gotten those two in the fifth round, I would have been so happy. And well, we're gonna look at the draft of our divisional rivals here. Zay Bowen was selected in the first round by the Dallas Cowboys, and he looks like a stud. He would make for a great linebacker, but yeah, they already have Micah Parsons and LVE, so no need there. And yeah, they just had a stellar draft down the board. Nice corner, James Woods. I wanted to pick him, but he was gone there in the fourth round. And then the Washington football team, also really good draft. Bobby Armstead, JJ Downs, Christian Drew. They get some targets for their now second-year quarterback. They get a good defensive tackle. And I'd say even Orlando Beckham is a great defensive tackle that I missed out on. actually, because I would have rather taken him than Harvey McNeil. But yeah, what you gonna do? An interesting fact about this draft class for the Washington football team is they drafted a lot of injury-prone players, so maybe this was a mistake. And then the Giants stellar draft: Joe Frazier and Thomas Simpson, and down the list, Tommy Cousins, 72 overall. Great receiver here. He's 23 but 5'9". He's a slot receiver and good speed, good catching, good short route running. That's all you want in a slot receiver. 79 catching traffic even. They also had a pretty great draft, you gotta say. And then some more interesting drafts around the league, because the Bills drafted Cesar Garcia in the first round, 76 overall. Looks like a stud. They got a great guard in the third round. They got one of my favorite tight ends in Cam Frazier, 73 overall. Was not wrong about him. Got another receiver in Andrew Howell. I liked him. Got another tight end in the sixth round. And then another receiver in the seventh. So they are stacked at the skill positions. And then Jermaine Crowder to the Broncos. He was 23, which was kind of a turnoff for me. He doesn't have a great first step with 81 acceleration. That's not going to be enough. But 76 overall. Then a good center in the second round. Another good edge rusher in the third round. And then a tight end in the fourth, which looks also really solid. So they drafted a nice set of defensive linemen there. And then the Chargers had an interesting draft because they went and got 3 starting pieces for the offensive line. So that was a really interesting draft as well. And then the Dolphins, Ricardo Lynch, Christian Pitts, and Quincy Zimmerman. This is an interesting group of players. Even the 4th round pick Barlow here was an interesting edge rusher. So they had a good draft as well. And then the Lions. What a draft for them. Pat Brown, George Whitley, Cam Weatherspoon, and Donnell Fisher. 4 players for the trenches, and they all look so good. And then later, Denzel Knowles. He has great speed, and yeah, he's going to be a nice piece to add to the receiving core there. So the Lions have another stellar draft after last year, while the Packers also had a pretty good draft. Joel Johnson, Casey Lowry, Tracy Fisher, Duke Price, and then, yeah, those 3 at the end were not like the most exciting, but it was a great draft for them as well. And then the Raiders, Merriweather in the first round, they get a tackle in the second round, and they come back with one of the top players in the draft, Andrew Phillips, and I really missed out on him because he would be a great linebacker. And yeah, that's about their draft. Really interesting. And then the Saints also had a pretty interesting draft, in my opinion. They get a franchise quarterback, a good running back, a really good tight end. I liked him a lot. He's 21 years old. He has 84 speed. He has 80 catching. His run blocking isn't even horrible at 63 for a tight end. That is fine. And I would have selected him if he fell down the board a little bit more. And then in the 5th round, they get Brandon Avant. My cornerback prospect I wanted to pick in the 5th round. And yeah, free agency. Aaron Rodgers has not been signed before the draft, so he was signed after the draft, and the Titans, they got around to him and they selected him. And then a really interesting UDFA I found here, Ramon Hunter. I knew about him in the draft. I didn't want to select him because I didn't know anything about him, but I wrote him down because I thought that his athleticism and the few ratings I knew were kind of interesting, and he looks really solid. Another player I found in UDFA was Johnny Bridges. He has great acceleration and 76 finesse moves, so there is kind of a skill set to develop here. He would be like a 3rd down edge rusher that you put in certain situations for now, so I'm gonna sign him as well. And then I signed about 20 other players in UDFA that were not that much interesting. But another player I signed was James Washington because we lost a couple of receivers last offseason, and yeah, I wanted some competition for the number 4 spot behind Devontae Smith, Mitch Slaughter, and Doug Washington, and I thought that James Washington was a good piece to add to there, along with Ramon Hunter. And so now we're gonna look at the team. Jalen Hurts, after an MVP season, is a superstar player, or has superstar dev, I want to say. But Christian Landry, he's gonna fight for his job because Hurts' contract is up the season. So we have got to make a decision. And at running back, we have still the same group: Sanders and Gainwell. Behind them, Hawkins and Williams. And then for receivers, it looks kind of new. We have Devontae Smith still as the number 1. But in the slot, it's going to be Doug Washington from now. And I think he's going to be a lot more dynamic than Jalen Reagor ever was. And then Quez Watkins, he's going to be a backup to him. And then on the other side, Mitch Slaughter is going to be the number 2. And James Washington is going to kind of compete for that number 4 spot with Quez Watkins and Ramon Hunter. I think that this is a pretty interesting group of receivers, but we may have some regression there. And then tight end still Dallas Goedert. I signed a third tight end here. We still have Thaddeus Moss, but we signed a third tight end in Grubbs. I think he has an interesting athletic profile. And then at the offensive line, we have Lane Johnson. When he retires, Travis Maynard is gonna take his spot. And then Brandon Brooks, and he lost his superstar dev. And we also lost Jason Kelsey to retirement. So there's going to be some regression along the offensive line. But I hope we can pull through. And maybe we'll have some competition between Landon Dickerson and Easton Young for the center spot this year. And then maybe next year, if Brandon Brooks retires, then maybe one of them moves over to guard. For the defense, we signed J.J. Watt. He's going to be backed up by Barnett. And I think this is an interesting edge group as well. We have Clay Riley in his second season. He's a star dev defensive tackle. And there's a couple more interesting defensive tackles as backups. Harvey McNeil is one of them. I still have Milton Williams and Marlon Tuipulotu. And Fletcher Cox is going to be the number 1. There is no discussion about that. And then Jonathan Rivera, after his monstrous rookie season, I hope he can build on that and get another great season in. And he's going to be backed up by Josh Sweat, who's having a monstrous contract, which I can not get rid of because there's a lot of guaranteed money in it. And then, for cornerbacks, we have Darius Slay, Avonte Maddox in the slot, Dante Jackson. He's going to be the number 2, and he's going to be the number 2 slot if we're going to the dime back packages. And in the dime package, Chris Madden is going to be the outside number 2 corner. And that's our corner group. Nothing changed. For safety, I really wanted to try to select a new safety, but it just never happened. The board didn't fall as I anticipated. So Kayvon Wallace is going to be still our strong safety. Our linebacker group looks kind of the same. Tyler Stokes is going to be starting as a run stopper on first and second down, but he's not a third down linebacker like Mike Middleton. So for now, it's going to be Mike Middleton and Javen White as the two linebackers in the nickel package. And then Mike Middleton is going to be the one linebacker in dime. And then at safety, still the same. Taylor Anderson is the free safety. And that is the new team. I see you again in the preseason. I think it was a fun offseason. We had a lot of players that were signed and drafted. I thought that our draft class was not overly good, but also not that bad. We got an exciting receiver. We got two solid pieces along the offensive line that are gonna start within a few years, or maybe even this season. Who knows? I'm gonna make it a battle between Dickerson and what's his name, Easton Young. In the preseason, there's going to be a battle for that center spot. And Travis Maynard, he's going to be a backup the first season, and then somebody's going to retire probably. And for the defense, nothing too exciting here. So I guess it's going to be the same season as last time around with a lot of offense and not a lot of defense. And that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe for more Lions franchise. See you in the next episode. Until then, spread some love.